So today we don't know where Dan's at. Gone. So we have a special guest coming up. You'll like that. We have some great articles. We have a sky stone, an artificial stone made way back when. We have a Pygmy Mummy from here in America. That'll blow your damn mind. And last but certainly not least, was William Shakespeare real? All that and more on Talk is Cheap. Talk is cheap, where cheap is talk and talk is cheap. I'm Dusty Long, and guest starring today is
Jenna De Witt.
And with me, as always,
Pete Halbleib.
All right. Today we have some great articles, and I'm going to jump right on in it because this one I am totally psyched for.
Jump away.
All right. So, as you all know, we do a lot of research before we bring these to you. Most of us know, well, we're competent in what we're talking about, I would say. We're not experts in no way, shape, or form. We're trying to just get you information. This one blew my mind. And the reason behind that, most things that I search, you find a little bit to a lot of information. You look up, you YouTube aliens and you're inundated with a million alien shows and pictures and everything else. What I'm going to talk about today is what they call the sky stone. Now, what got me about this is I've only found 3 articles. One YouTube video it was mentioned in, and I only found 2 articles that it talks about it. This is all I found, and I did almost a day's worth of research at the very minimum to try to find more and more of this. This is the sky blue stone of Sierra Leone, Africa. And the controversy around this sky stone is that it was found it comes from what do you call that? The geological layer of Earth.
Okay.
It's 12,000 BC. All right, 12,000 BC, right? It was found in 1990, an odd type of blue stone discovered by geologist and archaeologist Angelo Pittoni in Sierra Leone, West Africa. Now, there's a little bit about this whole guy and everything else. If you go to his website or his page, and he talks about finding all these things and everything else. He's not actually accredited with any college or any of the things that he says.
So is he a self-proclaimed geologist and archaeologist? So he's not necessarily holding a doctorate in this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the same article, but he's the one that says that there's a woman in a mountainside that he took a picture. It looks like a woman. He claimed that that's what it is, but then if you look at it in the right light, it doesn't look like a woman. So
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit of a fringe archaeologist, if you will.
So this is why I actually did more research, and this is where I come to a second article I'll show too. But here's what I'm going to give you a rundown. In Sierra Leone, there's a tribe, and they talked about the stars falling from the sky, and someone said, well, what happens to the stars fell, and didn't humans or planets or something? And they say, yeah, we know where they landed too. And this is where the blue stone comes in. Now, this is amazing. There's a picture of the blue stone here. Whoops, let me just go nuts. That's the blue stone. Looks pretty, right? Wouldn't mind having a little necklace made out of that or something for a little woman or something. But here is where it gets interesting. This was sent to 6 different laboratories around the world. One is Swiss something, and I bet you that's in the other one. But anyway, so it was carried out. The tests were carried out in laboratories of the University of Geneva, Rome, Erltech, Tokyo, and something Germany. And in Germany is a Swiss one. It's one of the really well praised. This is the area, the Sierra Leone area is where it's found. And somebody said something about Nigeria, but I'm not getting to the good part. You just stick with me, and I'm going to show you something really interesting. Here's a guy. Blah, blah, blah.
It's not similar to any other type of stone found in nature.
Right here. He asked after doing the testing, this is, I'm still not going to say it. So, there it is, GRS Swiss Labs, to see what they had to say about the testing. The doctor there called back and asked what the stuff was because he couldn't determine its composition and ended up returning it as unidentifiable. Anyway, it can't be determined. I can't say that word today. You had to believe the material itself was natural, but the element creating the blue color might be organic.
He did not believe the material was natural.
It's not natural. It is artificial, folks. National Geographic, and dude, he went to studio, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this guy is the next, this is National Geographic award-winning fine art portrayal photographer, Jared Collins, is one of the guys we're going to talk about here later. Its composition was found to be composed of 77% oxygen, along with traces of carbon, silicon, calcium, and sodium. 77% oxygen.
So it's kind of like a concrete or stucco. So it's got a lot of air pockets in it or something.
Yep. The sky stone is similar to a kind of concrete or stucco and seems to have been artificially colored. Natives living in the area where the stone was found already knew about its existence because the stone-like artifact used to pop out during the digging in the area.
Well, sure, it's very unmistakable if you see a bright blue stone come out as you're digging.
It is an artificial stone dated to be 12,000 BC. Artificial, not made anywhere, anyhow. 77% oxygen. So I read this, and there you can't find it. It's all in gemstones. You can't just go out and buy this stuff. So I read this other article here. Now this is the whole story. This is and this seems to be pretty damn legit, to be honest. This has a graph.
Got the assay of it or whatever.
This is the guy that found it. This is Collins, I believe. I'm not completely mistaken. Called the Sky Stone. This is a little bit better written too, I gotta be honest. So we don't really know what happened. The guy goes on, he's a big gemstone collector. He's really well known. He travels around. He goes, and this Jerry Collins is, he goes out and he looks for new species and new species of rock and different rocks to put into his artwork also. And this is where he was in Tokyo. He was got invited to the very well-known gem dealer. He looked through the gem dealer, rare gem dealer in Hong Kong. I'm sorry.
This is 2013, so this is just a couple of years ago. Yeah.
This is really new. Went to his personal penthouse, and he was looking while he was traveling around the country. Collins spent the late night rifling through hundreds of bags containing thousands of rare stones from all over the world. Nothing, however, really seemed to catch his eye. Collins repeatedly asked the dealer, "What is this? Do you have anything else?" After sifting through all the bags for a while, he noticed that there was a bag on the... There it is. Right in front of him the whole entire time. It was smooth and irregularly shaped rock with fine light white veins running through it. There was also a small cutaway piece in a miniature Ziploc bag. Yes, it was a curious thing with a very pretty blue color. When I picked up the stone to examine it, it was strangely light for its size, and I thought it was some sort of synthesized or hybrid wax plastic material. Yet it simultaneously appeared to have a natural stone of some kind. He was perplexed and everything else. He's never seen or handled anything before, and like I said, he knows his gemstones just like this other guy does.
Sure.
Intrigued, he asked the dealer, "Hey, is that what you're doing?" He asks what it is, and the guy says, "Hey, that's the Sky Stone." He's never seen or heard of it. The dealer went on to explain Sky Stone is a story behind it that is almost impossible to believe. It is said to have come from the heavens. God, angered by something that had transpired, punished the beings who were living in the sky and cast them into the stone and hurled them back to earth where they were buried in the ground. So again, like the other episode, this is the myth that goes with it that might have a little truth.
Yeah.
So he continued, "I know it seems like nonsense, but that's how the story was told to me by the person in the factory who provided me the physical samples of it. The man was also the one who first taught me about precious stones, and was he who inspired me to study and become interested in gems. He's a genuinely intelligent person, and he believes a legend of stone to be a degree."
So God turned a bunch of people living in the sky to a blue stone and cast them down. You'd think you'd find a bunch of this, but that's
only in that area.
Yeah, weird.
So I'm not going to read all this. I mean, it's a great article. It really was intriguing. It reads like an adventure story even. He doesn't get it. The guy won't sell it to him, and so he does research, and he does research, and he does research. And like myself, he could not come up with very many sources or anything else. He calls the guy back. He's like, "Man, can I have something on this?" The guy agrees to sell him the stone after like a year. He didn't say how much he sold it for, but it was a pretty penny, I'm sure. He also got with it. He got that little flake, which is the part that was in the Ziploc bag next to it. That's what they sent to Swiss labs and these 6 other places. And this is the elemental composition of the Sky Stone, which is a graph. It's kind of hard to see, but it's 77% oxygen, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, 77.11% carbon, 6% silicone, 3% calcium. And then just kind of traces of other stuff.
Yeah, and the blue is organic, so organically it was some kind of,
colored blue organically.
Yep. That does not conform to any known natural materials in existence. It's
likely, or we have some really unusual, rare element or something that just happened to pop up. But I mean, this
The periodic table of elements has everything on it. I mean,
yeah, you wouldn't think you'd
can't find
stuff.
something.
I mean, they can create new elements that last for like
Yep.
several seconds or a fraction of a second, but
nothing that would be tangible. You can't reach out and touch any
so
of those
anybody
elements.
hypothesizing on the practical application of something like this? Dusty?
Nothing. You can't even find it anymore. The spiritual doctor is the one that actually had all this, it talks about that Angelino Patani or whatever,
Yep.
is self-proclaimed botanist and gemstone expert. He's not really all he says he is. He doesn't mean he doesn't find it, but and whatnot. Then it talks about this where this guy, this spirit healer, had it, and he sells gems for cleansing your aura and whatnot. He had it. He gave it to somebody else that could feel the aura of stones and whatnot. And within like I guess a minute, the guy was like, "That's super special." So there's something really really amazing about it. There is a large sample on display at the Mystery Park Museum in Switzerland.
And they're not parting with any more samples.
Nope, they will not part with any samples. They won't let anybody even touch these things. The guy that had a bunch of it, he would only give out to friends, and then ultimately he would start giving it to more people and selling it. Now you can't find it. You can't find it. It popped up once recently. Where the heck was it? But anyway, it popped up once recently someplace else, but I mean, that was it. And then it talks about the letters that they talked about, and this is where the guy found it. Yeah, crazy. I love out-of-place artifacts. I love how we don't know how things were built back in the days and whatnot. But this one's perplexing. It's a natural stone, 12,000 BC, but it's an artificial stone, I should say. It was made somehow. Man-made, alien-made, something. But nothing found on this planet. Woo!
That is weird, and Dusty, you bring up the fact there's a little bit of truth in lore, and I'll get to that in a little bit too with what I'm going to talk about. I find it odd that it's such a small quantity. I mean, you've got you could probably hold everything they found in the world in your hands here.
They say it's a pretty good sized pyramid, but there's no one's bringing it out. No one's selling it.
So somebody's got it.
There's a lot of people with pieces apparently, but no one is.
Everybody's clammed up. It's in their private collections. They don't want to. I can understand why some folks would be afraid of what it suggests and would disrupt the current dogma. But I mean, most of what we talk about falls under that category.
Yep.
Very interesting topic.
Oh, I love it.
No freaking clue. Never heard about it before.
I know. I was so excited to find something new to talk about.
Yeah, awesome. Hopefully somebody out there eventually will say, "Hey, my grandpa's got a piece of that."
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, wouldn't it be
My
cool?
God,
So, we're 6 degrees from everybody, so we know someone that knows somebody that knows somebody that's got one of these things.
Maybe someone will watch the show and be like, "Oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna give it to him, and put it right in the center."
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, if you'd like to
That'd be
donate a
pretty
piece
cool.
to Talk Is Cheap, please send us a message via our network.
Or if you guys know of any more, because I did a lot of research, didn't find anything more. So, then again, I could have been looking in all the wrong places too.
Yeah.
Really good. All right, well, go ahead, check it out. Cool. It matched my eyes.
Yes.
Wow.
You folks know that I'm all like a lot of my passion lies with undiscovered hominids,
Yes.
races, origins of men, different creatures that live and possibly have lived and that have lived and possibly are living today. One of my favorite things I talk about is Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the Yeti, skunk apes. There's lots of different names, reclusive forest primates. Kind of captures them all. Well, when you start getting into Indian lore, and a lot of stories about Sasquatch in particular come from Indian lore, and that these were creatures that have lived next to the Native Americans. And your earlier point that there's always a little bit of truth. One thing I want to talk about a little bit about verbal history and passed down verbal history is that they had to be extremely detailed and accurate in what they passed down. It wasn't written down, it wasn't documented. It meant life or death for entire tribes and cultures if they made stuff up, passed along incorrect information. So there's obviously a very spiritual world to it, and they talk about different animals having different spiritual things and visiting them in their dreams and stuff. there's also a very physical world in their lore as well.
Mhm.
And so we kind of have to be able to try to wade through that, see the forest through the trees, so to speak, and understand if they're talking about something religiously and metaphorically versus something that is real. you know?
Yeah.
So when you start looking at the Cherokee history and lore and Iroquois lore, which are on two different kind of ends of the states, they talk about a race of little people.
Oh.
And they talk about Sasquatch and the giant hairy ones. They're not as concerned. They're mostly, they're thought of as being, the Sasquatch are thought of as being more gentle, mischievous. Yeah, sometimes they've taken women and children. But to the natives, it's the little ones you had to look out for. They're much more aggressive, much more violent.
Yeah.
You can kind of a lot of people dismiss that and had been dismissing it as just made up fairy tale.
Oh yeah.
Well, then Homo florensis came along in Polynesia, which was the Hobbit fossil, if you will, lived as recently as 10,000 years ago, or even more recently.
Yeah.
There are people that believe there might still be pockets of these living over there. And I had kind of, in my travels and like enthusiasm toward the Bigfoot phenomena, I started coming across more and more of these little people stories. And I found one, it's called Pedro, they nicknamed it Pedro the Mummy. And it was a small mummy that was found in Wyoming. Of course, it's got a lot of controversy. A lot of people are arguing about it and whatnot. But we're going to delve into that a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about some other potential pygmies or mummy, small people that have been discovered. So here's a picture of Pedro the Mummy. It's a pygmy, they claim. They estimate its standing height at about 14 inches tall. Remember when we talked about the Mayan alien episodes back? That little mummified alien that's still like 8 or 9 inches tall. So kind of, falls into that genre a little bit, because they had said that creature was 6 to 8 years old, they estimated, when it passed. So it was an actual living creature for 6 to 8 years. So the mystery of the San Pedro Mountains mummy. 1934, a couple gold prospectors blasting for gold, and they came across this well-preserved remains of a tiny human. And I'm going to go right back up to that picture again so we can get a little closer look, and there'll be more pictures down below. But here it is displayed. Not a very big thing, but pretty well preserved for
being how old it is.
Yeah, and just for being how many mummies we have found mummies across the United States, but really well preserved.
Like jerky.
Yeah, it's tiny person jerky. So of course it drew a lot of attention. Scientists got involved. A sitting height of 6.5 inches, estimated standing height of 14. These were not ordinary remains, okay? Here's a couple more pictures. You can see they did x-rays. Had bulging eyes, flattened cranium. It was extremely well preserved. It became clear that liquids had been used to preserve the body. Full set of teeth, skin was brown and wrinkled. Looked like an old man. There's a kind of a little closer look. Pretty creepy, huh? I mean, imagine seeing that coming out of the ground as you're looking for gold.
Well, of course, and on top of that, though, I mean, when you mummified something, it pulls the skin back and everything.
Yeah, it really shows the skeleton. But, unmistakable what we're looking at there, right? I mean, that's obviously some sort of hominid-type creature that's mummified. Yes.
Not jerky.
Yeah, no, not jerky.
Still thirsty. I'm hungry all of a sudden.
So, several anthropologists initially concluded that it was of an infant, likely born prematurely, who died shortly after birth. Here's where the disagreement occurs, because there is a second body of scientists that said, time out, wait, this is an adult, possibly 16 to 65 years of age.
Jesus, that's a big gap.
It is a big gap, because
gap.
especially for the time frame that they're living, it's like it passed like the normal life expectancy too.
Yeah.
This X-ray suggested that Pedro had suffered a violent death, showing broken bones, damaged spine, damage to the skull. So something clubbed it, crushed it to death, or
stepped on by a horse.
Yeah, or a mammoth or something. Yeah, right, yeah.
Drunken ball.
Initially, they thought it was a hoax, because this sort of stuff doesn't exist. So, right? So
Oh,
it's
of
a
course,
hoax,
yeah, it's a
right?
hoax,
Yeah.
yeah. It's all
So
fake.
if it doesn't fall into our dogma, it's a hoax. It's a big thing. And they had claimed that the prospectors created this. Da 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 da. Others maintained that it was an evidence of a leprechaun-like race. Okay, we have stories of fairies, leprechauns, little people and stuff out there, and folklore's based. There's many times.
Yep.
Nay, I say most times there's a little bit of truth
Absolutely.
in there. We can't take it at face value. Understand what they're going through at the time and what it may mean. So the big question is, okay, why don't we get this thing into a real modern day scientific lab? Years and years and years have passed, decades have passed, and this thing has drawn a lot of attention over the time. So let's test it. We've got DNA now. We've got all this high magnification stuff. The remains were on display for a while, but in 1950 they disappeared. Passed on to a man named Leonard Waller, sometimes reported as Walder, and they have not been seen since.
So he ate it.
So they just completely vanished.
Yep, in 1950.
Before any of our...
More modern
Yeah.
technology. We had X-ray, and that's all we had back there.
Yeah.
So, so the mysteries linger. I saw on some websites that there was at one time a $10,000 reward for people finding the location and so that they can continue testing.
Oh, yeah.
So viewers out there, this is a rare opportunity. Talk is cheap is sharing with you an opportunity to make $10,000. Help the scientific community find Pedro the Mummy. Okay? Okay, so...
Well, wait. Why haven't they gone back to the damn mountains?
Good question. It might be more, right?
Yeah, right.
Right? Because maybe if they're doing this, they're doing it to other. I'm glad you asked that because, interestingly enough, this is not the only place where a pygmy type person parts were found. In a place called Coffee County, Tennessee, when settlers were getting out there, and this is in the early 1900s, they started with their plows hitting these tiny little graves. And upon investigating the remains, they felt that some were adults. Some of the Indian Native American practices back in the day when they had a dead person would be they would hang them out on some sort of kind of scaffolding like thing, let all the skin and stuff fall off, pack up the bones and put it...
It pretty much mummify it by drying out the skin.
Yeah, well, and then shit would pick on it, and eventually they would have just kind of piles of bones and cartilage and remains they would put in these graves. So, again, scientists are disagreeing. Well, some they say are infants, but they found 70 to 100,000 of these little graves measuring 14 inches wide, 21 inches long, buried at about 18 inches deep because it kept hitting them with their plows.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in the areas where they found most of these, it's been converted to farmland. At the time, it was determined to be a nuisance. Some scientists came in, took some samples. But over in Tennessee, now they've found evidence of potentially basically a mass burial site. And some folks are arguing, okay, well, if you're claiming these are infants, why were 70,000 to 100,000 infants buried here?
Yeah.
Think of the population of North America back in that day.
Yeah.
I mean, there was...
No.
So I encourage our viewers to go out and do some research. There's a great write-up on it. It was 70 pages long, and I powered through most of it. Didn't find a lot of great pictures. I could show you pictures of rocks in the ground that look like a grave. I think we can envision that.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that this wasn't an isolated incident where they found what they claim a little person, and like I said before on the previous episode, we talked about the one in Central South America that was found. And when you look at the Iroquois legend as well, they claim that there's a race of little people in the Adirondack Mountains as well, and they just don't run across them anymore because they lived in much more remote areas, and the modern day natives don't need to go to those hunting grounds anymore because of modernization of food. So, yeah, pretty crazy. I'm going to scroll back up. We'll take a couple of little looks at this. I mean, the scientists so far have agreed this was at one point a living being.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
kind of disagreeing on the age of it and what it represents, and lo and behold, Mummy's gone.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
I wonder if it's like because of the fact that it was so shallow of a grave for all of them. What if they just had like a huge battle, or they ended up having a huge disease that swiped them
wiped
out,
them out.
and
I was thinking the same thing.
they couldn't bury themselves because they're already dead, so they just stayed there where they're at, and the ground.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, in the Coffee County, Tennessee case, there were actual limestone slabs that were taken, that were not like found immediately in the area, that made the actual grave walls, if you will. There's one
Okay.
underneath, one on
Oh,
the
yeah.
side, and then one on top.
So it's an actual
like a
tomb.
box. Yeah, it was like
So
a
it's an
box.
actual
Which is
tomb.
interesting
Yeah.
because if you're a small person, 18 inches is pretty damn deep anyway. 18
Yeah.
inches to us is, we
Mhm.
dig that up with 3 or 4 shovel strokes.
Yep,
For them,
yep.
it'd probably be a lot more work.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I like that Tennessee one.
And it could have very well been a mass die-off with disease or a battle or something like that. However, again, I'll go back to having a concentration of 70 to 100,000 people
That's a,
in that time frame. You know, we're talking 1,000 years ago, 2,000. We're not even sure. To
That's
have
a
that
very
population
population.
concentration there is unheard of for North America.
that is crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I really like this.
Yeah, so there's some great stuff. If you ever happen to come across somebody that's got something like this sitting in a yard sale or something, pick it up.
Yeah. I never find
Yard
anything,
sale.
All I ever
We
find
can
is
only wish.
Yeah, right. This is the kind of shit where your grandma dies and you go in her back closet and it's sitting in a box underneath the Christmas decorations or
Oh my
something.
God.
You know? And-
that's a weird Christmas decoration.
No, that's gonna be the star on top of the Christmas.
Yeah, the Christmas tree. Oh, that's
You know, when we read
God.
these, or watch and read these things, I always when the piece disappears, just like the blue stones disappeared, and this has disappeared, it always drives me a little nuts. You know, it's like, well, wait, God damn it, oh, the Bigfoot costume disappeared. It's either trying to get rid of evidence because they hoaxed it, or they're trying to get rid of evidence because it doesn't fit with their
it's
dogma.
true. Yeah, and it's true. Yeah.
And I think it's like, and that just irritates the stuff right out of me. It really does, I'll be honest,
Yep.
because I don't know, but I love it. That's a great
And
article.
it's one of those weird things in the weird corner of the internet that not a lot of people
Yeah.
know about. So I encourage everybody to go out there, do their own research, and dig into it. There's some really cool stuff.
I like it.
Before I hand this off, I did want to say one other thing too. Our viewers may notice that we are missing one of the stalwarts of the show.
Oh yeah, who's that?
The founding member, the CEO of the
CEO of the
KTV
network.
Dan Holfeld.
Yeah.
He's not with us this week.
Nope.
We're not at liberty to say where he's at, but I will say that he is on a groundbreaking, top secret expedition, and will report back to us when he gets back.
Great stuff.
We only know the general area he's at. He left to, and it's kind of over here.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to getting to having him back and sharing what he found when he was out on his travels.
That is, if he wasn't taken by the government.
Yep. Now
Yeah.
now would be the time to do it because he didn't really tell many people where he was going.
Yeah. So God only knows what happened.
Yeah.
to
So
Dan.
you know what? If you see Dan as well, please let us know where he is, and maybe he's out looking for the mummy. We don't know.
Look for Google Maps and you'll see.
Yes.
Alright, so mine is on Shakespeare.
Oh, fun! I've heard of this one before too.
Yeah.
This one just caught some recent traction recently in the media too. It
Yeah.
came up again. So,
Yep. So,
this is just from July of this year. Awesome.
yeah.
So it really is fresh.
Oh yeah. Only the freshest.
We have the freshest crazy news on Talk is Cheap. Very good.
Yep. So, William Shakespeare may or may not have actually been a real live person. So, because of that, they have evidence, well, not real evidence, but they have theories that it actually was about, it's actually a person that had to disappear. So he faked his own death because otherwise he'd go to prison.
Sure.
So he faked his own death and took on the new role of William Shakespeare. There's a couple of authors that actually wrote books about how, like the arguments of the fact that he didn't actually write his own plays.
Mm-hmm. Because every other playwright of the time had their own little signature kind of. They'd put their stamp on it with the way they wrote.
Yep, and his were all over the place, so there was no real stamp.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and then
look at that. The theory that Sir Francis Bacon could have written the plays was put forward in 1856.
Yeah.
So this is not a new. This is not a
No,
modern
no,
theory.
it's
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome fucking name, Sir Bacon.
Yes.
Yep, so it was Christopher Marlowe. He was in a drunken brawl on May 30th in 1593. He was apparently killed in the brawl. However, they have beliefs that he actually didn't die in it because of the fact that he falsely basically faked his own death just so he didn't
Go to
to
prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was an atheist.
Yeah.
So
No shit.
yeah.
So
Oh my God, there's like
Yeah.
8.
There's-
I'm kind of reading ahead here.
it's
Oh my
okay.
God, there's like 6 or 8
a
people.
bunch of them
Yeah.
that actually added into William Shakespeare. Like William Stanley was actually the one that did the initials of William Shakespeare for every single play.
Yep, and I think
So-
that I've heard the William Stanley connection before.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, and then Marlowe, he believed that William Shakespeare was named, well, actually, Marvelin. Is that how you say it?
Marlovians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christopher Marlowe. I guess his followers they call him Marlovians.
Yeah. They believe that Shakespeare was named as a play author to protect the truth
no shit.
of Marlowe's death.
What the heck?
Yeah. And there's
Weird.
so many like different authors and writers that actually went into William Shakespeare's writing. So the writing was never actually his, yeah. Because they have Roger Manners. He was the 5th Earl of Rutland. Yeah.
Which we're all familiar with.
Yeah. Rutland. I've been there 5 or 6
Exactly.
times. Right.
Which was supported by a German literary
Critic.
critic called Carl.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah, let's just say
able to say
Yeah.
his last name in 1907.
So this Carl guy came out and said that it was this Manners guy.
Yep.
And William's saying that he has the same initials and wrote off on it.
Yep.
And then the Bacon dude is... So, now are these all to be part of William Shakespeare, or we're saying these are all the theories?
Yeah, that any one of these possibly could be.
Yeah.
These are all theories, but not that they all collaborated together.
Oh my
You
God,
know
you know what this is like? This is like one of those talk shows where it's like, and you're the father! And everyone's like, oh shit, you're William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this is that these are older theories, and what it does is it supports the fact that William Shakespeare didn't exist, and it was somebody, and it could have been any one of these.
How do we know he didn't exist?
There's
very little information.
Biologue is so small. There's literally nothing when
Really?
it comes to what he was
We don't
doing.
know nothing about William Shakespeare.
Other
but
than he
was just
wrote
a-
all these great plays.
Yep, that's it.
Well, look at what Mark Twain. Same
Yeah.
thing. I mean, the people had pen names forever. You know.
Yeah. Well,
I like that one where he faked his death because he's an atheist. I like that story.
Yep,
Yeah.
In a barroom brawl.
Yeah. I haven't been in any of them.
Yes.
but the only way that so for the Roger Manners one,
Mhm.
it says, however, the Earl would have only been 16 when the first of William Shakespeare's work was published in 1593.
That doesn't necessarily discount it for me.
No.
Look at Mozart. What was he was 12 when he was wrote his first symphony.
I think he was 12.
Maybe
He was
even
either
younger.
8 or 12.
Which
Yeah,
one went deaf? Was it Mozart or Beethoven? You could hear it. You could still write
Beethoven.
music when he was
Beethoven was deaf.
So yeah, I can see this. I didn't know anything about this. This is nuts. I always thought of William Shakespeare. I like to call him Will, because I know him. Will Shakespeare.
Will.
Yeah.
O-W-S.
W.S. and I.
Willie
We used to go to
Willie
Rutzburg.
Shakes.
Yeah.
Old buddy Willie Shakes.
Willie Shakes. We used to go down to Rutzburg and.
That's
badass.
interesting. I wonder.
I've never heard this.
I'd like to dig into that a little bit more and actually try to figure out some timelines in there and whatnot.
I love the Bacon name.
Yeah, right?
That's B.A.
Yeah, Sir Francis Bacon. He's been around a while, and if you get into the whole bankers conspiracy and Rothschilds and stuff, he was in with that crew.
Really?
Yeah, back in the day. So right there, he's got a little asterisk next to him about doing some shifty shit.
Bacon, part of the New World Order.
Yep.
You know what's interesting is the name Sandwich actually came from the Earl of Sandwich.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until the other day. I was doing some research and it popped up. And the guy was playing poker and he didn't want to keep holding on to his loose meat or whatever, so he asked for 2 pieces of bread, slapped the meat inside the bread, and he was the Earl of Sandwich, and that's where the sandwich was created.
Boy, you would have thought that they would have thought about that a long time ago.
It takes an Earl to do these things from Rutledge.
I guess it took them centuries to invent the fork after they had the knife and spoon. So.
Yeah, well, you would think that's just, This is really crazy, and I'm really, really happy you brought it up, because as conspiracy theories go, I thought maybe I've heard of most, but this has been around since 18
What
something.
I would also like to know is that, because we all have seen pictures of Shakespeare.
Exactly, that's what I was just thinking.
Who was that supposed to be? You know, like the Mona Lisa, supposedly Da Vinci and drag or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that picture of Shakespeare really somebody else that's just doctored up a little bit? I mean, I can't imagine back then it was that hard to change your identity if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah,
No,
I know what you're
especially if all of the photos of people were paintings.
Yeah, right.
They could easily just paint something else. Just like with the Mona Lisa. Who was one that?
Da Vinci.
Da Vinci,
Yep, did the Mona Lisa.
Da Vinci. They've actually had cases where they're like, well, it looks like Da Vinci would be part of Mona Lisa. Like, it is his face.
It's Da Vinci in drag, is what some folks say.
I thought it was his mother.
It would make sense why I would look at it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the UFO and the Mona Lisa in the background.
Yes, because Da Vinci always wrote in mirrored images, so we put a mirror there and he'd write and do things. So they take half the Mona Lisa and they throw a mirror up there, and what you get is some alien-looking thing. So they always talk about how he knew. Because Da Vinci went into a cave and was gone for like 5 fucking years. Yeah. He pops out of a cave, he yells like, "Yo! I'm gonna make this cool-ass flying contraption." And he says that, or some shit I read said that he actually got enlightened when he was in the cave or some shit. So yeah, he took it off.
Imagine you spent some soul searching 5 years in a cave by yourself.
Maybe it was a year. I bet you fapped a bunch. Well, no, I think this is great, John. I really thank you for bringing it up.
Awesome.
I've never heard of this.
It gets me thinking about stuff. And I'm taking solace in the fact that in 5 years no one's going to know what fat means anymore. It's just a fad.
That's right. You should have been here for the Talk of Sheep recording. That got really raunchy.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't. I have a certain level of...
You ever seen pictures of Shakespeare? They get that white thing around him. It always reminds me of the cones they put on dogs so they don't bite themselves. Yep. I don't know what the hell kind of statement that is fashion-wise, but...
Well, they still wear powdered wigs in Parliament England, so... Maybe not anymore, but they were not too long ago.
I like watching British Parliament shit too, because they really start fights and stuff. They really get into it. Yeah. Not like our government, who of course they have to show up, but for like 100 days a year or whatever. These guys are in there. And they're just like, "Oh, chip, I want blah 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 blah."
Yeah, and then bangers and mash.
Yeah, bangers and mash.
2 lumps of my tea.
I think the British politics, I could watch that all damn day long. I watch C-SPAN. It's like, unless certain people are on.
Very theatrical. Tradition rich.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes.
This is awesome.
All right, bring us home, Dusty.
I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Talk is Cheap. We had a great time, if you can't tell. I hope you tune in next week, every Sunday. And I want to say thank you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and anything else if you want, and or just one of them. It's okay. So I want to thank you, the viewers, and as always, my co-hosts. So let's take it out of here. I'm Dusty Long.
Pete Halbleib.
Jenna De Witt.
And we wish you all have a great day. Bye. Pygmy Mummy.
Pygmy Mummy.
I'm gonna
Say
fuck this
Pablo.
up. Pablo the Mummy. Nah, I'd say Pygmy Mummy.
Pedro.
Fuck, Pygmy Mummy. Shut the fuck up, all of you.
Paco.
Oh my God, I'm gonna slap you in the balls. All right, you ready?